For the AFL Hunter Central Coast, this is the Mark and the Mike podcast with Oliver Croft.
G'day and welcome to the Mark and the Mike. I'm Ollie Croft. Today we're catching up with a person that has officiated the game at some of the highest levels. I'm chatting with Cypress Hart, who's had the opportunity to umpire in the Northern Territory Football League and AFL Sydney, but his journey started here on the AFL Hunter Central Coast. This is Cypress Hart, part 2 of 2. Cypress, you talk about meeting a lot of friends up there and people guiding you through the Northern Territory Football League in the sense that you're bouncing off each other. They're giving you advice. You can maybe offer some of your experience from down here. What does them helping you look like? Is it running drills? Is it going to the gym? Is it just talking to you? Can you give us an idea of what that looks like?
I think it's a bit of a combination of a couple of things. I would say first, probably just the sort of when I went up there, they obviously treat the NTFL like a state league program. So we had a lot of access to content, umpiring content that like VFL and VFL development umpires have access to in terms of sort of giving you a guide on, what cues to look for certain decisions. Like, for example, pushing the back, a good indicator of that could be that their weight onto the numbers of another player. And that's, a pretty good cue that they've pancaked them, so to speak. And that was a push in the back. So that, and second, I think some of the veterans that they had up there at the time, Jared Collins, Mark Noonan, Casper Lancaster, that was his nickname, Daniel Lancaster, how sort of they, I guess, their words of advice and some of the sort of thoughts that they shared with me about my umpiring and sort of how I approach it, especially sort of when it's a tough game and maybe I've had a few decisions where, they're not the best decisions, and sort of trying to reset and focus on the next play and things to that effect. So probably those two things primarily, sort of the veteran umpires up there, but also the access to that content that we just don't have readily available to community level umpires in New South Wales.
Yeah, sounds like a special experience up there, getting to see some of that cooler content. Hey, moving back from the top end, or actually before we move on from the top end, really quickly, what was one of the hottest days you had up there?
Yeah, there were numerous. If I had to put my finger on one game, it would probably have been, I believe it was Nightcliff versus Tiwi at Nightcliff Oval, and there was absolutely no breeze that day. I'm off the top of my head, it was 42, 43 degrees, and being Darwin, it was a really humid day. It was about, I think it was a 2:30 game because at the time the Tiwi Bombers couldn't play any other time slot, and that day was just brutal heat-wise. I'm pretty sure I was quite sunburnt after that game, and that day was an absolute scorcher.
Yeah, wow, stinker up in the top end. Yeah, I mean, would have probably been a bit of a fun game to see, whose sunburn sort of matched the red footy, because it gets really hot up there, as you've just said. Look, coming back down to Sydney now, you've had the opportunity to do a VFLW match between the Sydney Swans and the Casey Demons at Blacktown International Sports Park. Cypress, what an achievement. Like, was this something you had dreamed of as a kid, getting to VFLW level?
Definitely sort of the level of football that I aspired to do, and sort of when I got the opportunity, when that game occurred, I was so excited. Like, it might sound a bit, I guess, trivial to some people, but sort of being able to see your game listed on the AFL website was really cool, and sort of being able to say, holding the ball, Casey Demons, or holding the ball, Sydney Swans. Obviously you do that in academy games, but, there was the extra sort of, feeling of, oh, wow, this is like really high level football. And like some of the female the players that I got to umpire in those games, because I believe I did another one off the top of my head a little bit later that year. But like I remember like Chloe Malloy sort of in the midfield, and just how explosive she was. I was like, wow, what an athlete. And yeah, being up close with, from my perspective, like legends of the game, because like we were quite lucky, and a number of AFLW regulars were playing in those VFLW games to get ready for their season. Was just such an exciting opportunity, and something that I was really grateful to be a part of.
Cypress, it is. It's actually so funny that you mentioned Chloe Malloy and that particular highlight, because I was just about to bring to you that although you're not playing, you get to play a pretty cool cameo role in some of the awesome passages of play. And although it's all about the player, you were running right alongside Chloe Malloy in that passage of play. In fact, here's the highlight that I've got right here.
Nice hand pass for Hamilton, and gets it back, Chloe Malloy. Gets rid of the would-be tackler. Inside 50 goes Chloe Malloy. Long kick for goal. What a brilliant goal from Chloe Malloy. Started in the centre circle.
I feel like the commentator captured that perfectly. Then it started in the centre circle. She got the handballed it off, got it again, and then just unloaded from 50 essentially. Must feel like the best view on the ground sometimes.
Oh yeah, no, it was magical to watch that passage, and geez, big leg on Chloe, like to flush that from 50, like that was I absolutely loved being a part of that game.
Cypress, personally, I feel like one of the most mesmerising things in AFL football is when a player takes a specky over someone's shoulder and they actually hold the mark. And sometimes it can be quite hard to shake that mesmerisation and realise I'm an umpire, not a spectator, and you've got to blow the whistle and pay for said mark. This grab was taken in a grand final. You were umpiring in AFL Sydney, and you got to blow the whistle for it. Take a listen.
Gedge comes in with Velastro. Gedge gets it away, gets a kick away as well as the ruckman. Pollinger! Oh, what a speculator! Goes wide.
Oh, what a speculator indeed. And to give the audience some idea, this is a full-grown man. He's put one knee on another bloke's shoulder, pushes up, and then grabs the ball, lands back on 2 feet. What's the first thought in your head? Because you had to blow the whistle.
To be honest, the first thought in my head was, what is Dave Redden going to say about this mark? No, I'm just joking. We love Redders and love the passion he brings to the game. Obviously, a former commentator up here in the AFL Hunter Central Coast, and a bloody good commentator down in AFL Sydney. But to be honest, I off the top of my head, it was sort of later in the grand final, and I was just like, oh no, that means I've got to run the other way and keep moving quickly. And, towards the end, especially in the grand final, it can get brutal, especially if it's ping-ponging back and forth between half back and half forward. So, absolute ripper of a mark, and so cool to see. But yeah, my first thought was, oh geez, I've got to get on the bike and get moving.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's one of those things. The game can just move so quickly. You've got to be there. Look, judging by the footage, I know the cameras, on the players, but knowing that I was looking for you there, you were on your bike. So to the audience, you were up in there and you're ready. So, I mean, what two great passages of play. So you come into 2026 now, ready to wield the whistle again. Is it a goal this year to maybe put in the hard yards, or a goal over several years maybe to get to like the level that Zali Mertens is at, make an AFLW debut, or like Joey O'Brien, who actually started umpiring in the AFL Hunter Central Coast as well? Do you want to get your name on an AFL list?
I think that would be lovely. I think sort of as I guess time has sort of gone on, I try to sort of take my football sort of one step at a time. Still definitely a goal and dream of an aspiration of mine. But yeah, like the next step for me is to get the Premier Division Grand Final in Sydney, and I'm hoping to have a very good crack at it this year. And then from there, sort of hopefully get on the VFL list eventually, and from there, anything can happen. But geez, seeing like Joey O'Brien get to the AFL level, and I was lucky enough to join in with VFL training for a few sessions this year down in Sydney, and just sort of interacting with Joey and sort of seeing how he goes about his business. There's like it's not surprising to me that he's been able to sort of get to the AFL, because he's just such a well-rounded guy, and is incredibly talented. So, and then with Zali, like, to go from umpiring the Men's Cup Grand Final with her, only 3 years ago now, and to see her umpiring AFLW football, which I know was a big goal for her for some time. Just really proud of what both of them have achieved, and definitely inspires me to sort of stay hungry and keep trying to improve. And to be honest, I can't wait to get back out on the football field and put together hopefully my most consistent best season yet, and have a real shot at getting the big grand final in Sydney, and then sort of seeing what happens there as the years go on.
Yeah, well said, Cypress. And it sounds like you're extremely motivated to keep the momentum going you've built over the last couple of years. It's time to talk about an extremely serious and important part of Australian rules football. Whether you're in the crowd, playing, coaching, umpiring, mental health plays a huge role in AFL. Could you talk to us, how do you switch off from footy when it takes a lot? It takes your weekends. If you're working 5 days a week, it can sometimes take Saturday and Sunday. So how do you switch off from footy when it's your whole life? Do you walk your dog, Cypress, or is it going to out for dinner with family?
Great question. I think that's definitely something that I've struggled with over the years, especially sort of after you have a hard game, or you make an error is something that's droppable, or something that you set high standards and expectations for yourself, sort of going into games, and especially when you want to keep progressing and keep improving your umpiring. But yeah, switching off is something that I'm still very much learning to do. Especially because like during the week, Monday you're having a review of your game. Tuesday you have training. Wednesday pretty easy to take your mind off the game then, and Thursdays, if I wasn't training with the VFL guys, I was having a jog or something like that. So I'm still thinking about football quite a bit during the week. But I think just having good friends will be really clear and sort of honest with you. To be honest, having friends that know nothing about football and just being able to vent to them and talk to them about it has been really helpful for me personally. And sort of it's a concept that I started to sort of learn this year of, like, I guess building your team and sort of I guess, having people in your life, whether they're friends, family, coaches, mentors, that sort of I guess play a role for you and sort of can support you in all different aspects, whether it be, after you've had a hard game, just being able to vent to them, or whether, it's a mate of yours that knows his stuff and just sort of debriefing a hard situation on the field. I think that's really important. And yeah, like, I think umpiring is, like most sport, like it's a lot between the ears, and it's yeah, not always easy to perform week after week, because there's an element of pressure there always, and you know yeah, I suppose that's how I would sort of describe things.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks for sharing, Cypress. Cypress, if you could have a moment of reflection just quickly now, these could be rapid fire answers. You can answer them for as long as you'd like. Some you might not have an answer for at all, but if you could go back to that under nines game in the eastern suburbs, what would you tell yourself, Cypress? Would you tell yourself that you're going to go on to umpire the big dance of some AFL Sydney games, Anzac Day games, Black Diamond Cups, or would you just tell that little boy to stick with it?
I would just tell him to stick with it, enjoy football as much as you can, because like unfortunately at some point in my life, umpiring will take a back seat, or won't be there, which I hope that's not for a while. But I think yeah, just telling him to enjoy it, and just love football.
Any advice you would give to a 13-year-old picking up the whistle for the first time in the NCCUA? Maybe they're coming back, maybe they're starting something new, maybe they've umpired and gone, nah, it's not for me, and they're coming back because they need the money, they might need the fitness. And what advice would you give to a 13-year-old?
It's a good question, and it's I think for a 13-year-old, I think it would probably echo some of the same sentiments that I would sort of, as the previous question of, um, enjoy your football, because you never know how long you're going to be able to be involved with it. Be really open to feedback, enjoy your football, try your best for the game, and just be really open and try to learn as much as you can.
Yeah, well said, Cypress. Well said. And I'm sure if we had umpires listening to this right now, maybe existing umpires, I'm sure it would resonate within them. Look, Cypress, this has been an absolutely brilliant episode. I think it's really important to have captured at least one umpire story, and who knows, we might have a couple of umpires lining up in the next coming weeks in the middle of a footy season. I've got one last question for you today, and that is, when the whistle gets hung up, maybe at the end of a long career, whenever you feel ready, how do you want players to remember you from AFL Sydney, AFL Hunter Central Coast, Darwin, indifferent? How do you want players to go, oh yeah, Cypress Hart, blank?
Yeah, that's a really great question, and to be honest, I hadn't really thought much about that, to be honest. But I think how I would want to be remembered is someone that was, skillful, cared about the game, tried his best every game, and just a good bloke on the football field. Just enjoying his football and enjoying the challenge, enjoying the interactions that you have with players and coaches. So To summarise, just to be remembered as a good bloke who cared and tried his best out there.
Thanks so much for coming on today, Cypress. Really appreciate your time and your insights. They were brilliant. And look, big things coming for you in 2026 and beyond, I'm sure. Thanks for joining me on the Mark and the Mic.
Thank you very much for having me, Ollie. You're doing great stuff for football on the Hunter Central Coast, so keep doing it. I love seeing you. Continue to gather exposure for our great league up here and be, so passionate and full of love for the best game on earth.